Welcome to a brief tutorial on how to change the USB port on a cutter. So the USB port is located on the right hand side, right here. So this comes as a board and we will be changing it out. In order to change it out, we need to remove this end cap. First things first, always when you're working on the inside of a cutter, unplug the power cord. So you can see there's no power applied here. So remove the power cord. Next, we're going to want to take this end cap off. As we do this, keep in mind that this USB port has an internal cable that goes to the motherboard. As we take this off, we want to make sure that we don't disconnect that cable. The other thing we're going to want to be cognizant of is the orientation of the cable. The cable inside that goes from the USB port to the motherboard has an orientation, and it can be flipped 180 degrees. We want to make sure when we plug it in to the new port that we get the correct orientation. So first thing to do is we're going to lift up the top plate for the cutter like this. There's 4 screws that we need to get access to. One here, and then 2 of them underneath in this channel underneath. It might be a little difficult to see, but you can kind of maybe see it in there. So there's one here and then one on the other side. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to slowly move the carriage out of the way if it's in the way. We have to move this very slowly by hand if we're moving it by hand so we don't damage the motherboard. So this is about the right speed you want to be moving it if you're moving it by hand. Once that's out of the way, we can access our fasteners. So I'm going to use a screw gun, and these should just come out nice and easy like this. And you can see I've got the cutter off of the stand. It makes it a lot easier to do this when it's not in the stand. Okay, so these 2 fasteners, and these are just wood screws basically. They go right into the plastic, so put those to the side. To get to these underneath, I'm going to close the top cover. I'm going to rotate the cutter back like this. Bring it forward a little bit. Make sure this handle for the rollers is in the up position. So getting to these fasteners is a little tricky because they have to come in at an angle. And you can see I got that like that. I'm going to try and get this one too from here. If not, you can flip the cutter over and do it on the other side with it above if your bottom floor is in the way. You can also see that this has the static string connected to this fastener in the rear. It'll be important that we put that back. Okay, so there's the fasteners, all 4 of them. And now the end cap, I'm going to tilt this back up again, holding the end cap so it doesn't come off yet, because I'm not ready for it to come off yet. Alright, so now it'll come right off. I'm going to carefully remove it and tilt it out. And you see here the cable that is connected to the motherboard. We don't want to pull on this too hard from the motherboard side because we don't want it to disconnect from the motherboard. What we want to do is we just want to disconnect it from here. So from here I can pull it up and you can see the orientation. Note the orientation. You see the blue part of the cable is toward me. So when we put it back in, we want to make sure that it's in the same orientation, that that blue part is towards me. So I'm going to pull it out, and there'll be some glue on it from the factory, and we glue connections to make sure they don't come apart in shipping. So once that's apart, you can see here's the contact side. That's the non-contact side. The contact side goes in, the non-contact side goes towards me. So once we've got that, we can now pivot this away, and you can see I actually disconnected one of the power cables here too. We're going to have to reconnect that. So this little guy here, that goes into that little plug there. So when we connect it back, make sure to reconnect that too. This is the part we need to get to. So it's this board that we'll be replacing. You can see there's 2 nuts, right here and right here. And we can use a wrench to take off these nuts, and we can swap out the board. We can also remove the whole bracket. So there's 4 fasteners, 1, 2, and then 2 below here. You can take this bracket off and then manipulate it in your hands, and you can easily replace this board. This board should look just like the new board should look just like the old board. Goes back in the same spot in the bracket. Put it back exactly the way it was, and then we just reverse the process. So we're going to reconnect the cable, as I said, blue side towards me, like this, assuming we've already changed out the port. You don't need to re-glue it because we're not going to reship the cutter. The glue is usually just to hold it in place for shipping. And then in this case, because I disconnected this, I have to reconnect this little guy here. Make sure that you haven't accidentally disconnected anything. So got that back on there. Then the end cap goes right back on, like this. And then we put the fasteners back in again. And if the static string was connected to one of the fasteners, make sure you include the static string loop underneath the fastener. Thank you.